Hello listeners, this video is on Margaret Atwood's Journey to the Interior. This is a transcendental poem. Transcendental means which relates to spiritual realm, which should be experienced by one. The poem is published in the print edition of January 7, 1961. This poem relates to spiritual way. The word interior in the title of the poem refers to the psyche of the poetess. Margaret Atwood is a confessional poet because during the Second World War and after the war, many people were affected by mental conditions. To speak and cure their mental conditions, there were poets emerged as confessional poets, and Margaret Atwood is a confessional poet. Let me tell you the style of confessional poetry. This style of poetry is personal. It uses first-person narrator. This confessional poetry comes under the branch of postmodernism that emerged in United States during the 1950s. The use of first-person perspective or narration demonstrates the person's own life. Let us see about the author, Margaret Atwood. She was born in the year 1939 and she is still alive. She's a Canadian poet, novelist, literary critic, essayist, environmental activist, and teacher. She's at present at the age of 83. From 1961, she has published 18 books of poetry, 18 novels, 11 books of non-fiction, 9 collection of short story, 8 children's book, 2 graphic novels. She is honored by many awards for her writing. That includes Booker Prize, Arthur C. Clarke Award, Governor General's Award, Franz Kafka Prize, Princess of Austria's Awards, and the National Book Critic. She has also received Lifetime Achievement Awards. Her works are also adapted into film and television works. Let us have an overview of the poem, The Journey to the Interior. It is in the form of an extended metaphor which entangles the journey into her mental world. So her mind thinks of a complex and seemingly inaccessible region. The region is shaped by a wide array of thoughts and it is surrounded by hilly regions, and that area is unknown. In this poem, Atwood compares her journey to the interior world. Though the poem compares inner and outer world, the poem lines only describes the journey to the outer world. The poem starts as she starts the journey towards the mountain region. So the inner world represents the journey to the mind. While we read the poem, we have to recall the things in our inner world. Now let us see the poem line by line. There are similarities I notice. That's the hills which the eyes make flat as a wall, welded together, open as I move to let me through become. In these lines, the poet has described the similarities that she has noticed in her mind. In her mind, she has noticed that the hills are flat when she observes it from a long distance. And from the far, she could see that the hills are welded together. When she began her journey, she sees that she has to move on and on endlessly, where she reaches a large open area of grassland. This demonstration to an open area reflects the inner mind. When we make journey towards our mind is flat in the beginning and it is like a wall bound with different things. But when we move further and further, we endlessly move towards the meditation for a long time with an open mind. Next line. Grow spindly, have their roots often in swamps, that this is a poor country, that a cliff is not known as rough except by hand and is therefore inaccessible. Now just imagine the hill area that we dealt in the first stanza. So while we could see the open area, there are away to the trees where there are large grown up trees and they look thin, having their roots in the area of low lying uncultivated ground. And when we travel on and on, we could look at the cliff, which seems to be smooth. Now let us consider this to be inner journey. The representation of large trees are represented to unwanted thoughts which are grown in our mind. We must not care about it. Mostly that travel is not the easy going from point to point. A dotted line on a map, location plotted on a square surface, but that I move surrounded by a tangle of branches, a net of air and alternate light and dark, at all times that there are no destinations. Now the poet says, during travel, that too especially in mountain area, she seems that travel in mountain area is not too easy with the help of maps, because having maps is not accurate during her travel in mountains and dense forest. And her travel is not in a square box where a point can help to move to different directions. But this journey towards a mountain is not like a square. This journey to mountain is surrounded by twisted branches. There are a net of air and day, light, dark at all times, and the way to the mountain seems to be dark and light, net of air and day. And there is no other way to move toward the mountain. Similarly, just think about the inner world. Journey to the interior is hard and there is no map to help. Sometimes the way could be good or it could be bad, and we cannot take help from somebody because we move in a different way. We cannot get help from anybody else. Our way is real and unique, and there is no other way. We cannot just copy anybody else's way. Next stanza. There are differences, of course, the lack of reliable charts. More important, the distraction of small details. Your shoe among the brambles under the chair where it shouldn't be. Lucent white mushrooms and a parking knife on the kitchen table. A sentence crossing my path, sodden as a fallen log. I'm sure I passed yesterday. Have I been walking in circles again? Atwood, in her travel, she has notices the difference in her travel mode. She thus says that the charts are not going to help during her travel, and the distraction in her journey, she can remember it like the brambles. Brambles means a shrub of the rose family. So those brambles are under the chairs, and the glowing mushroom and a knife on the kitchen, and a sentence or a word which she can remember. She's also experiencing that in her journey. These are the same things that she experienced yesterday. She just wonders whether she's working in circles again and again without monitoring it. Now come back to the inner journey. She says that there is no book or there is not going to be any chart to guide anybody in their mind travel. When they travel, they may experience a lot of distraction. Even the small word that they hear from a great distraction. And when people travel in their mind, we can surely experience that there will be words that comes in our mind just like a glance. And this is a continual process. Whenever we move into meditation, we think about a mind deeper and deeper, these thoughts come again and again in our mind. Next stanza. But mostly the danger, many have been here, but only some have returned safely. In these lines, she says that the journey to the interior is danger. Only few people can succeed in it. Next line, a compass is useless, also trying to take directions from the movements of the sun, which are erratic. And words here are as pointless as calling in a vacant wilderness. Whatever I do, I must keep my head. I know it is easier for me to lose my way forever here than in other landscapes. Atwood says, while in travel to the mountain, a compass is not useful because it is a vast landscape, and to any direction that she has to go, compass is not going to lead her. The most important thing in journey is that one must keep oneself safe without losing oneself. Now come back to the inner journey. When a person takes journey to the inner world, to the inner mind, a person should control his thoughts and he must not lose his way or his thoughts. This poem, Journey to the Interior, is a monologue which is in the form of introspection. Through this poem, Atwood has defended the similarities and disparities between them in order to give a realistic and a holistic idea of human mind. The poet also projects her to be an experienced traveler and makes her readers to experience it. The poem compares two distinct ideas, so which is an ideal example of metaphysical poetry. We see that Atwood has compared her body to a house and her mind to its interior. From this poem, we could analyze that there are secret alleyways of mind where one has to manage to return, and there is no compass, direction, or a map, or one cannot call someone for help. One has to move on and on with their own thoughts without losing oneself. Hope this video helps. If you have query, please write it down. If you want to have discussion on any topic regard to literature, please write it down below. Thank you for listening.